Secret friends, unite!
Hey gang, welcome back to Secret Friends Unite. Oops, all Thunderdome, our topic-based show. This is episode number 580. I am your Spider-Man loving humble servant, Charlie Carden, here with two of my Spider friends, if you will. Oh, Spider-Man and his amazing friends. I got two of you. I got a boy and a girl. So there we go. So Iceman, Peter Stein, and Firestar, Andy, whose last name I'm always going to screw up. Say it again.
Brynildsen.
Yes, yeah, not a chance. From Norway, joining me to talk about Spider-Man. My God, we have reached the end of the road. This is the penultimate, it's the final segment of the summer of Spider-Mans as we ramp up, which we've been doing for several months. And I would love it with all the other stuff going on if we could have covered every Spider-Man movie. But as it is, we covered Tobey Spider-Man 1, we covered Andy Garfield Spider-Man 1, and then we've tackled the Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. So this is the last installment of that. And then when you listen to our show this time next week, you'll be listening to us talk about Spider-Man Brand New Day with a cast of yet to be determined individuals that will be joining me, up to 3 people, because in my many years of podcasting, I found out that if you have more than, with rare exception, if you have more than 4 people on a podcast, it gets to be a little nuts. The only exception I feel like I've ever made myself was over on Code 47, which is our Star Trek podcast. For our 100th episode, we had a bracket challenge where we rated the best episodes of Star Trek, and I think we had 6 people, Peter. Which was, or we had 5 because we needed an uneven number. So, but anyway, we're going to be talking about Spider-Man No Way Home, the 2021 movie that broke my heart so much that this is only the 3rd time that I've watched it in the 5 years since it's come out. But we're going to get you ready to go out and see Spider-Man Brand New Day. But first and foremost, as always, love to pay love and respect to the wonderful people over on our Secret Friends Unite Patreon squad over at patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite, where you get exclusive programs, including a rundown of Ron Marr's Battlestar Galactica, the other greatest science fiction show of all time that Peter and I are wrapping up on the Facts of Geek Life, a great bad movies podcast that I do with my wife, April. You can only find those on our Patreon. All of our shows come out early. This show, for example, drops on a Thursday for the world, but the Patreons get it on a Tuesday. And a special channel just for our Discord members, on Discord just for our members. I'm so excited, I can't talk. The first week is free. You can also stay on board for free if you so desire, but if you want to be an audio member, you get half off of that first month, and you stay on board for as little as $2 a month. We would absolutely love to have you at patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. All right, super friends, Spider friends, are you ready to get into this deal and dig deep into not getting home for him? Not me. I'm home. I'm sitting in my basement, so I'm good. You guys are home. Everybody's happy. But yeah, let's do this thing. The film, as I'd mentioned, it came out in 2021 about Spider-Man, obviously from Columbia, a partnership between Columbia Pictures, Marvel Studios, and Pascal Pictures, distributed by Sony. So this was what a lot of people talked about being kind of the end of that big Sony MCU Disney partnership, but then it made $1 billion, and somehow they wanted to keep it going. I can't believe it. Can you believe that they wanted to keep making money? Does this amaze anybody but me? I know Peter's shocked. I wish you could see his face right now. This is obviously following up Spider-Man Homecoming from 2017, Far From Home 2019, and this is the 27th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, directed by John Watts, written by Christopher McKenna and Eric Summers, starring Tom Holland as the titular Spider-Man / Peter Parker, along with Zendaya, Benedict Cumberbatch, Jacob Batalon, Jon Favreau, Jamie Foxx, Willem Dafoe, this cast, Alfred Molina, Benedict Wong, Tony Revolori, Marissa Tomei, Andy Garfield, and Tobey Maguire, which was somehow a secret they managed to keep, despite the fact that Tom Holland has a long-running reputation of ruining secrets because he has a big mouth. But somehow he managed to hold this off. The plot of the film is that when Spider-Man's identity was revealed by in a posthumous message from the villain Mysterio in the previous film, his life has turned upside down, as is the life of his family and friends. And he goes to Doctor Strange, who he knows from the whole Infinity War / Endgame deal, and asks him to use magic to make his identity secret again. And naturally, it gets totally screwed up. The multiverse is broken. Other people come into his reality, including a certain trio of Spider-Men that broke our collective brains. I still remember the cheers when Andy Garfield jumped on the screen, but we'll get into that in a minute here. So this film came out, again, we're talking about 2021, and on December 17, which was, Marvel is getting back to that with the December release of Doomsday, which we'll have later this year, as part of Phase 4 of the MCU. Positive reviews, which I'll talk about in a minute here, and it grossed $1.921 billion worldwide. I didn't realize it was just that short of being a $2 billion film. That's insane. That's Endgame numbers, and this is for a single character, not a big. I mean, Endgame was massive in scope.
Technically, it's not a single character.
Oh,
this one had all the nostalgia.
Yes.
So there's reasons.
Okay. It was
strange.
Yeah, that's perfectly valid. And Doctor Strange. But yeah, I simply meant more, it wasn't really a team film like the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, or the X-Men. But yes, I get, but you make a very good point. So this was the highest grossing film of 2021 by a long shot, because let's not forget we and the box office were recovering from the COVID-19 shutdown, which happened in 2020 and continued to drag on box out, kind of affecting the theater business into 2021. And the sixth highest grossing film at the time of its release, I'm sure it's still probably top 10 if we were to look. Set several other box office records, including films released during the pandemic. Got an Oscar nom from Best Visuals at the 94th Annual Academy Awards and other accolades. This I didn't know, and I'm going to have to, maybe you guys know, it's an extended version of the film subtitled The More Fun Stuff version, had a global theatrical release in September 2022. Did anybody else know about this?
I don't think I heard about that one.
No.
This requires investigation.
Yeah, get out your spider shovel. This is a little weird. All right, so by the numbers,
I think we need to send Craven.
Yes. Oh, well, I don't know. I can tell you where the Craven journey ends if you've seen that movie.
I'm referring to Craven, the comic book character, not just
Good choice. By the numbers, 93% on the RT Rotten Tomato score, making it certified fresh, and 97% popcorn meter with the audience. So critics love this movie and people love this movie. That seems to happen less and less these days. Which is funny because, again, my reaction to this film was sadness when I saw it. I really struggled with going and watching it again. I was just like, this movie bummed me out in a lot of different ways, but I had a lot of really different feelings watching it this time. So, all right, so we're going to break this. We're going to go ahead, please go ahead.
There is a part of this movie that is so well done, and I absolutely hate it. I hate it so much, and I love it.
We'll get into it in a moment, but I think I know what you're talking about. All right, the skinny, as always, we're going to break it down according to three. I have them according to three squares, which is what I have on the flow, or check boxes or categories, if you will. Favorite. Again, everything is spoiler free. This is a 5-year-old movie. You have probably seen it, but if you haven't seen it since 2021, maybe we're giving you a little bit of spark, and you'll go back and watch it again. The film, of course, available on video on demand, physical media from any place that sells physical media, and of course on, I believe it's found its way to Disney Plus. That tends to change from time to time. So I would definitely, like they said in the old days, check your local listings, and people used to look at the TV guide. But check the internet to find out for sure where this is playing. But I would highly recommend going on purchasing it. So favorite moments, as I said, with spoilers, missed opportunities / weird plot holes / etc. And then, of course, we'll score it 1 to 10 each of us. So let's get the ball rolling with favorite moments. I'm going to pop on over to Andy. I'm going left to right. So it'll go Andi, Peter, myself. Andy, please.
Okay, so just a quick little one that I want to talk about, and that's Matt Murdock catching the brick.
Yeah, I'm a very good lawyer.
It's so fun. So good.
It was.
All right. Tell me more. Tell me what you absolutely loved about this film.
Okay, so other than that, another like detail before we get into the bigger stuff is the costume design for Willem Dafoe after he
yes
the goblin suit, like the purple hoodie and the green jacket, like it's so perfect. It's absolutely spot on. It's so good. And the fun
I
thing
was going to say,
is,
if I might interject, something that made me very happy is the thing I hated the most, and Andy, you and I talked about this sometimes back about that O2 film, was the bastardization of the Green Goblin. They tried to make him Iron Man before we even had Iron Man, but they gave him this ridiculous mask, which when you first see Willem Dafoe in this, he's in the rest of the suit, but he's taking the mask off and he's hanging it on the edge of a dumpster, and he's having his emotional split between the two, and he smashes the mask in half as it hangs on that dumpster. And I was like, I feel so heard by this moment. It just made me really happy.
I'm gonna be the weird one. I like the helmet.
Oh, that's okay. You know what? To each their own. To each their own. I'll tell you know what. Let's ping pong back. Andy, you give one, and then I'll kick it to Peter.
I'm just gonna say the thing with the villains here. It's fun. Like Alfred Molina and Willem Dafoe, they're here because they're 10 out of 10 casting. Same with J.K. Simmons. He just gets to be imported into the MCU completely. Like,
right, new character that we're meeting, as opposed to being imported from the Tobyverse. Yes,
and then like we get a little bit of Sandman, a little bit of Lizard, but also Jamie Foxx is here with an apology for what happened in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like he's here because we kind of screwed you over last time. Sorry about that, bud.
Exactly. It's funny because you get to see he appears as himself for the majority of this film, where Thomas Hayden Church is the Sandman. You only see him as himself in the very end of the film.
It's previously used footage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then, like maybe a day.
As I recall, he wasn't available for any of the shooting time, so they just had him come in to do the voiceover, and then just.
You're absolutely right, because as I'm picturing that, his story ends. He's in the crown of the statue. He's been tagged with the cure, and then you just see him looking kind of longingly, and
basically it's footage that is used from the Collider at the beginning of Spider-Man 3. It's unused footage.
Oh my goodness. I had no idea.
I'm not making this up. That's real.
I'm being educated.
Thing with Lizard, like he's Lizard for like 90% of this, which means
99%. Yeah,
he can do that just in the voiceover.
And fun fact, also when he comes back as his human self, that is also footage reused from Amazing Spider-Man.
Stop it.
That's why they had the water crash down and had that leaning piece of metal, so they could reuse that roof shot from the first Andy movie.
Oh my God! So was he also not in it at all?
He also was not in. He was also physically not there. He was also a voice booth.
This is completely ridiculous. This is a record needle scratch for me. I didn't know this at all. I didn't know this at all.
Both of them were not free.
Oh my God! And Andy, you're obviously experiencing the same level of disbelief as I am, Peter. You've broken the eighth wall here.
I'm not that shocked because I had the thought like they were probably just there for like a day to get those human shots, and then the rest of the
they weren't even there for that.
Yeah, so, that is the perils and pitfalls not only of a heavily CGI'd movie workforce, but as we move into things that are more AI, which is extremely controversial, how much more of that are we going to see? How much is it going to be like, we decided to recast Charlie Chaplin in this movie, and it's just all in the same time. It's extremely controversial, but Peter, something else you loved, and then I'll go.
Let's see. I really, really liked Willem Dafoe's performance in this film.
Nailed it. So much more evil than anything we saw in that movie. Just ratcheted up to 72.
He did a fantastic job in the original Spider-Man movies with like both his physical appearance and then his hallucinating appearance in later films. He just nails the character, and in this one he does a really, really good job. I do have some qualms about some of the writing of the character in this film, but
we'll get back to it.
I do think that like his acting was like spot on. Yeah. And another thing is I really, really liked how they handled Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker in this film, because he actually
added something extra. Yeah, he had something extra.
Because he wasn't just, you know, oh, here's another Spider-Man. It was, no, I am now the bedrock on which the two of you who are broken need to rely. And I really, really liked that the OG Spider-Man is the one that the other two have to rely on.
Right, exactly.
In a very special way. So
the three of them together are just so wonderful, the way they play off each other.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, you can tell the three of them had a ball just working together.
Right.
And
I feel like
also recreated all the memes behind the scenes, which is even better.
Right.
So.
I feel like there's about zero chance that we won't see them sharing the screen again together, whether it is in Avengers Secret Wars, which is coming out next year, or maybe even with San Diego Comic-Con, it may be pushed and rearranged. There were some theories around that. But because that entire world is taking place in what is known as Battle World, you can actually see the map behind me for my partners. The great 2015 Secret Wars miniseries basically is going to ape kind of the plot line of what Doomsday turns into Secret Wars, 2 films that are coming out, is that 3 Earths combine, creating a single patchwork world where every section of it is a different reality. So I think there's almost no chance they don't put those 3 guys back together. I mean, that's my hot take moving forward, which I don't even think is that hot of a take, but I'll say fight scene after fight scene after fight scene. I mean, yeah, it was set piece city without a doubt. Every one of them worked. Well choreographed. You know, was it heavy CGI? Sure, but they were, accomplishing a lot. I mean, kicking it right off from the beginning with Alfred Molina, who, as I understand it, and I did have a note, was de-aged for the whole purpose of this, to make him look like he did in 2004. Whatever. We've got the technology, which is a throwback line to a show called The $6 Million Man, which I'm sure neither one of you have ever heard of, because it's from.
I am well aware of the $6 Million.
I am well aware, but it's even before my time. But it was on at least in reruns when I was a kid. But
did I watch it? No, but I know of it.
Yeah, that was an incredible. Yeah, I thought it was an incredible accomplishment. Every fight they had, and like I said, taking the Green Goblin, who was unhinged and scary but ridiculously so in 2002 Spider-Man, and this, he was just. That fight scene between him and Peter going through the apartment building, smashing him into walls, knocking him through floors, and then Peter is just bloody and blooded up, and Norman does not have a mark on him, and then he's throwing bombs, and then we get to the scene that Andy wants to talk about, which is the main thing I would say. Yeah, I would say, because I hated it too, it kept me away from this film for a long time. But I have some final thoughts on that as well.
So painful. And
I love,
but that doesn't mean you want to watch it again.
I think that's what got me.
So well done.
Having Benedict back as Doctor Strange, telling Ned and MJ to go Scooby-Doo this shit, so they became his Scooby-Doo gang. The way that the two of those characters work together, which they didn't have that much of a dynamic in the first 2 films. They were at because they were a kind of peripheral friend group, because Ned was his dude and Mary Jane was his crush, and they finally got together at the end. But then the three of them were
Mary Jane. She's Michelle.
Not Mary
Jones.
Jane. I broke my own rule. She's MJ. She's
Michelle.
Michelle, I broke my own rule, but I have MJ written down on the notes because it's simply that is her nickname. But Jones Watson is mentioned by the police when she's being questioned. That's true. But her name is not Mary. There's no Mary.
No, and I prefer to keep those 2 characters kind of separate. It's like, okay, we don't have a Mary Jane Watson in this.
They're not at all.
We have Michelle Jones instead. So trying to connect her back to the whole Watson thing.
Yeah. Well, and the characters are absolutely.
I love Mary Jane so much.
Mary Jane is great.
And there's no similarities between the characters. I don't personally like the Mary Jane character that we saw in Tobey, but in some ways she really does ape what the Mary Jane character was like in the 60s, which that film was really kind of bouncing off of, was portraying Spider-Man when it got started. But that is that's a different spool to unthread. But we already mentioned my soul brother, J.K. Simmons, from my hometown of Grosse Pointe, Michigan. How incredible that they imported him to play the same role in this completely different universe. It's exactly what they did with Hugh Jackman You
He
know,
doesn't miss a
The
beat.
thought struck me that it's a little mean to J. Jonah Jameson to turn him into Alex Jones, basically.
oh,
Just a bit, yeah.
there's no doubt about it. But in
I
some way,
understood why they did
Yeah.
it, but at the same time, I was like, "Aw."
I know. Oh,
Jameson's
I know it.
better dude than that, okay?
Yeah, and Alex Jones
Jameson
having fallen even further since the time this movie came out.
Yeah, Jameson does, like, if you from the comics, like, he's the way he is for very specific reasons.
Right.
So to be like, oh, he's just a conspiracy theory nut job. I mean,
from the comics,
he could probably lean that way.
Right. And it's painted out very clearly early on in the Spider-Man run. His hatred of Spider-Man is about jealousy. He says Spider-Man does what he does without any thought of reward, without any thought to his own safety. And he says, and I'm a coward and I couldn't do that. And so I hate him because he's what I could never be. He literally, when I was walking through, and as I was mentioning both of you, I went and saw this absolutely great Spider-Man exhibit at the Griffin Museum in Chicago yesterday, April, and I took a day trip. And they have that page from very early in ASM. I think it's maybe in the 30s or something, maybe 30, 31 or 32, where he has a whole page where he's talking to himself, which people did in comics back then because it was Stan Lee. There was 40 different bubbles of him just in a room talking to himself, saying exactly what I just said. Yeah. So that is, but otherwise, you're right. J. Jonah Jameson is a very competent journalist in a time when journalism still mattered in the 1960s, and a millionaire publisher of this giant newspaper. So yeah, it was kind of a bummer, but regardless,
I mean, he was still Jameson and still had really funny things going.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. And still, unwilling to bend. Finally, Andy Garfield / Peter 3 finally saving the girl when he saves MJ, and then he tears up, and I wrote, yes, no, you're crying. I was that made me tear up, even watching it this time because I'm old and me and my emotions.
That moment back to the scene where the three Peters meet each other, and it's
right.
Tom Peter, he has just lost Aunt May. Toby talks about losing Uncle Ben, and for Andrew Garfield, it's Gwen and what happened in the second movie with her, and not being able to save her, but he does get the chance to save MJ, and it's like, yes, awesome moment.
Right. Exactly. All right. Well, for the second time, let's move on, and we'll talk about some things maybe got missed out. Maybe you'd like to see them go differently, weird plot holes, things of that nature. Andy, you first.
This is such a good movie that I have a hard time picking up anything like that, but the thing that's maybe the most sort of awkward here, I think, is the inclusion of Happy. Because, sure, the whole MCU Spidey has a very close connection to Iron Man and Stark and all of that, as does Happy. So, also with him and Aunt May having a thing, like, it makes sense that he's here, but he gets, like, just not quite enough to justify him being here. Like, that's the one thing. Yeah. But, like, hey, Jon Favreau is here. And it's like, you're one of the most recurring characters in the MCU and you don't have superpowers. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I can't necessarily disagree. I didn't, and Peter, I'll jump in. I didn't really understand, particularly because, the end of Homecoming, they're like, Tony invites him to the Avengers compound and, in north of New York City, and was like, we're adopting you and you can come live here and be one of the Avengers. So I don't understand why, especially after his name was cleared and he's like, I don't have anywhere to stay. My family's not secure. They didn't just, they were rebuilding because obviously Avengers, compound got blown up, but you saw them cleaning it up or whatever. Why they didn't just take him back in, because he was a big war hero from having fought in the Battle of Earth and everything. So I'm like, why didn't they just move him back in? They move his family, Aunt May in there as well. But then I thought, it's the classic line from the pitch meeting, like, well, then the movie wouldn't happen. So I get it, but that was the plot hole for me that kind of jumped out. Peter, how about you?
I got a couple.
Okay.
So I'll give you something that I would have liked to see, just as kind of a little like, ooh, that would have been nice. I would have liked to see a few other characters from some of the other films. Maybe just in like a little bit of maybe a post-credits epilogue of like the other Peters Parker getting home.
Because the epilogue they did have was a throwaway to one of the, not even the crappiest Spumco or expanded Spider-Man universe movie, which is Venom, because there were a couple of there were 3 movies that were much worse than Venom, but still Venom was bad. But they had to still find a way to sneak that in. But anyway, go ahead, please.
So I would have liked to see, because like they're all still around. I would have loved to see, you know, like Mary Jane, Aunt May from Tobey's universe,
right?
And maybe see Andy Garfield, like, you know, take a step to, you know, be better, because that was like his big character arc there,
right?
Not be better in like a negative way, but like, you know, move past some of his rage, and see him be more of a happier, more amazing Spider-Man. But the biggest thing that I have that's kind of a plot hole, not really a plot hole, it's something that I have an issue with, is I don't like how Tom Holland's Spider-Man's character arc goes in this film.
Okay.
I understand why they did it, but I don't like it. So you know how like classic Spider-Man is like, you know, great power comes requires great responsibility, all of that.
Yeah.
They try to give him that lesson. But the other Spider-Men start from the bottom, right? Like they're like, oh, I'm great. And then they get completely smashed to the ground. Like, you know, Tobey is like, haha, I just won like $100. And then Uncle Ben dies. And then he's like, oh, I have power. And then it's shit.
Right.
So he learns like things that I do have consequences fairly quickly. And then he learns that he wants to help take care of people, all of that. Similar with Andrew Garfield. The thing is, they kind of reverse this with Tom Holland, where he starts as like the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and then, you know, Infinity War happens, but he's still like a great Spider-Man. And then all of a sudden you rip everything away from him. And because he doesn't have that solid foundation, because he didn't have Uncle Ben, he didn't have Aunt May already knowing stuff early on, he kind of falls apart and becomes a rage monster. And and yes, I know that the character arc is like he's supposed to get past that, but he doesn't. Because at the end of the film, Spider-Man doesn't stop himself, except visually, metaphorically. Tobey Maguire stops him.
Right.
So Tobey's Spider-Man is the one who's, like I said, like I really like how they use him. He's the wise one. He's the Obi-Wan Kenobi of this movie. But he comes in and he's like, no, this is the wrong choice. But Tom Holland accepts that because Tobey Maguire stops him, not necessarily because there's a change in his heart. And so I don't really like that, because I don't think it's a good character ending point to be. It's an interesting point to be, I suppose, but I don't think it's a good place to be. And then related to that is he made a bad decision there and is only stopped by an external force, and then left to his own devices, he then also disregards the wishes of his friends, who very, very clearly told him, you need to tell us who you are once this happens.
Reconnect, yeah.
And so there's kind of this underlying selfishness that gets baked into Peter Parker that's with the veneer of nobility. And
because in that last scene, he's like, "You guys are way better off without me."
Yeah, he acts like this is the right choice, but the thing is, like, his friends have free will and asked him to do a certain thing, and he's like, "Well, I know better. I know what's better for you. Sorry, Spider-Man, you don't get to make that choice."
So on top of it all, he's a shitty friend, which is, and again, in my final thoughts, I kind of expound on that. But that, as a comic reader, is kind of what Peter Parker is also all about, because he ends up having to make a lot of crappy decisions, trying to do what he thinks is right.
He absolutely does, but in this case, it was the wrong decision, and there wasn't a like world-ending thing that he was absolutely preventing. right? Like making the decision to make them forget. Yes.
That we know about. And it could be something that, again, the new film starts 4 years later. Other things have happened.
We'll see.
And even
see what the payoff is there.
And even between, the scene on the Statue of Liberty where the spell is finally cast and the final scene where he goes to the donut shop where Michelle works, and a few months have passed. So did something else come? I don't know. We don't know. But I
know there's lots of things we don't know. But as a film, I don't like where it ends the character.
I cannot necessarily disagree, and I absolutely see where you're coming from. I on the other hand was glad they didn't decide to bring back Kristen Dunst, who again, Andy likes the character, I hate the character, even though the character is accurate. Yeah. But I was glad we also didn't see
my favorite Mary Jane. Though, so I'm fine.
Well, yes, the cartoon Mary Jane, which I know how beloved the '94 series is, who we might get back again. I keep hearing things about seeing Spider-Man '98 coming back, a la X-Men '97. Fingers crossed. I was merely glad that we didn't get. I wrote Eric Foreman, which is of course Topher Grace's Venom from Tobey's Spider-Man 3.
That would have been a little rough, yeah.
They have not gotten that character right. I'm just going to say that. All right, well, let's do a rating, and we'll go through a little bit of trivia before we wrap things up. So, Andy, where did this one land out of 10 for you?
8.5.
8.5.
I'm going with an 8.5. Like, almost a 9. I want to give it a 9, but you guys have pointed out a couple of things, so 8.5.
Gotcha. Well, tell me why. Just because we chip away at it? Is that what you're saying?
No, there are a couple of things that I didn't think of, like with Peter's character arc. Like that doesn't really bug me, but I do think I agree that
bug, pun intended,
movie that does weaken the ending a little.
Yeah.
So
it's a valid point. That's the point. Peter, I mean, you pointed out the big hole. So where does that leave this with you out of 10?
I mean, it's still like an 8. It's like an 8.25. Like I still really, really like it. There's I just don't like the Peter Parker character arc for Tom Holland's character. And there's also some timeline shenanigans with people knowing things that they probably shouldn't. Norman was Green Goblin. I don't think everybody knew that, bro.
Right. Whoops.
There's a couple plot convenience things for timeline stuff, and we all know that I'm very picky about timelines.
Pick, and that's particularly difficult being a Star Trek fan, as you know. Well, we're all in the same ballpark. I think I had this in 8, but I think I might nudge it up to an 8.5. And I'm right there with Andy. It's a tough rewatch because of the sadness. Aunt May dies a bunch in the comics because she's a frail old lady. Okay, but she's never killed in a spectacular explosion-filled moment against a supervillain. So that was and it was because Peter does what he does the best in these films, which is just totally fuck everything up because he makes bad decisions. This was April and I were watching this together. She says his heart's always in the right place, but he does a lot of dumb shit. Yep. And he absolutely had the chance once it was put in front of him, and Strange says, look, dude, there's this box. You push this button on the box and they all go back. I'm like, why didn't somebody else just push the friggin' button and then Aunt May would have lived and none of this other stuff would have gone down like this? But again, it was Peter doing what Peter thought was right, trying to make everything correct. But when did he not screw that up? In particular, within his 3 films in his time as Spider-Man, he screwing things up in Homecoming. He was definitely screwing things up when he was over in Europe in the second film. But this was the one that left you with the biggest possible stakes and serious consequences of almost any Marvel film that we've seen. Civil War, the Captain America Civil War, was a big one for stakes and consequences, and that the one that absolutely changed the direction of everything. But yeah, this was third film in a row of Peter F's everything up with his choices, which is the real Peter Parker. If you read the comics, he is always finding a way to let Aunt May down, let Mary Jane down,
Oh yeah.
Participate in Gwen getting killed. Be a shitty friend to absolutely every friend he's ever had. Failing out of college because he doesn't make it to class because he's busy being Spider-Man. Because I'm just now finishing my 1970s Amazing Spider-Man read. I just have about 9 issues left. And just reading that and kind of in the core of that is that, he doesn't graduate from college because he forgets to go to a 1-credit PE class and has to graduate later because he forgot about it, because he's a screw up, because he's busy being Spider-Man. So that is just the Parker luck, which is something he and Aunt May dub it, is just basically the Parker dumbass curse is really what it is, because just he's a dummy for as smart as he is. So
world's dumbest smart guy, as they said in the old Fantastic.
But this was a 2.5 hour long film. It was packed with a lot, but did not feel overstuffed. I feel like everything that happened was necessary. They got a lot in. They had a lot of characters. Everybody had something to do. Everybody played a role, I think, and I was pretty satisfied. So
yeah,
all right.
Fun watch.
Some fun trivia facts. So Jamie Foxx and Willem Dafoe were very excited to play their roles again. Fox in particular was pleased that he wasn't going to be blue this time. Andy touched on that. They got him right. Alfred Molina, however, joked that he was only in it for the paycheck before confirming that he liked the story a lot before signing on. Well, that's kind of a dickish thing to say. Peter gets the big win for all of this by telling us that Thomas Hayden Church and Rhys Ifans were not in this film. That blows my mind. If that was in this, because again, when I pull these trivia bits, I grab them off of IMDb and there's like 100 of them. So I try to just go through and pick some. They're not even necessarily all the best ones. But I absolutely missed that. So Peter, you win this podcast. This is a win. This is in the win column for Peter. At about 52 minutes after encountering characters from the multiverse, Ned wonders if there is also a Ned out there in the comics. I've mentioned this. Ned Leeds is a Daily Bugle reporter who is brainwashed into becoming the Hobgoblin. Well, not becoming, but he's framed as being the Hobgoblin, being brainwashed. So Hobgoblin is my personal favorite Spider-Man villain because he's the Green Goblin of the 80s. Kevin Smith once described him as being the Green Goblin, but metal. Which I absolutely adore. According to VXF supervisor Kelly Port, there are only about 80 shots that don't have any visual effects in the entire film. Can you imagine? Oh my, that's just absolutely crazy. And they got this film done and released within 2.5 years of the previous film. So I feel like, we shot for 3 weeks and then spent 18 months doing visual effects. That's what it feels like.
They spent their time. The CGI looks actually pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. They pumped in the bucks, and boy, did they ever get their money back. Ned's laptop. Say that again.
The Doctor Strange fight looks really cool.
It does.
I love that. And that was one note I had, is that Doctor Strange's kind of reality bending fights with the trains wrapping around in a circle and going through all the skyscrapers crashing down onto each other.
I did like the, this is geometry. You can do this.
Exactly.
That was fun.
The magic beats math is, I think that's a sticker I then saw on, because, I collect stickers from Redbubble. That's why all of my drinking vessels are covered in stickers. That was one that I saw, that magic beats math, or math beats magic, which was paraphrasing a line that Peter says. Ned's laptop has a sticker on it of the "This Is Fine" dog. It's taken from a 2013 webcomic called On Fire by Casey Green, which was pretty much endemic of describing all of our lives post-pandemic. This is fine, sitting in a burning room.
Yeah.
Electro confirms that the 616 NYC power grid runs on green arc reactor energy. Considering green energy had been Tony Stark's goal since 2012, most or all of major cities worldwide could be running on arc reactors by now, which I think is totally awesome. Willem Dafoe insisted he be allowed to participate in the filming of the action sequences and perform as many stunts as possible. Oh, that sounds like the beginning to the end of a horrible story, because he was in his 60s when he was filming this, I'm going to guess. I'd have to ask, Alexa how old he is now, but I probably wouldn't like the answer. As a condition of him reprising the role, believing he could not give a complete performance if the character was filmed separately with CGI and stunt performances. I appreciate that. that's pretty cool. Doctor Doom's trench coat attire, while still far more grounded than his depictions in the mainstream Marvel universe, where he wears he's a chubby guy who wears a onesie, like what you see in the cartoon, is slightly adjusted from its appearance from Spider-Man 2 from 2004 to look closer to the colors and character the character wears in the pages of the Ultimate Spider-Man, which is the comic I've turned Peter onto. And Andy, I've said to you this as well. If you're ever going to jump fully in to reading Spider-Man comics, the Ultimate Spider-Man from the year from fall of 2000 that's definitely the way to go. So I would love to have the three of us get together at some point and do a pod just talking about that first arc of that. I think it's the first 6 issues. So I'm going to put it to the two of you, as you guys, people who don't read comics as much, that we do that together. So I'm throwing that out there sometime. I want to do that. I definitely want to do that. Film was released a few days before the year of the 60th anniversary of the Spider-Man franchise, the 20th of the 2002 film, 10th anniversary of Amazing Spider-Man 2012, and it goes all out by featuring all of those casts stuck together as we know. And then finally, my beloved Dennis Leary, who appeared as Captain Stacy in the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man films, was asked to appear in a planned flashback or dream sequence, but was unable to do so, citing his commitment to an unspecified television series. The sequence was subsequently written out of the script because of this. I don't know, that kind of bums me out just because I love him, but I also feel like it would be, you know what I mean? Like maybe. I just don't really know how it would land. Like it would tie back into, I feel like they reinforced the death of Gwen a little bit better than that, because remember his dying words were like, make sure my daughter doesn't get killed by any of this Spider-Man bullshit you do. And then of course she does.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm not the biggest fan of flashbacks in most films.
Especially if it's the only appearance.
Especially if it's the only one, like if we're only doing one flashback. So if they were doing, for instance, like in that moment where like the 3 Spider-Man first meet and there's the conversation about, power and responsibility, and there's the trauma dump amongst all 3 of them.
The trauma dump. Boo. That should be a button they push. Hold on. Click.
Yeah. If they did it there with flashbacks, that could have worked, but that's the only spot where it could have worked.
Yeah,
right.
I think
that's fair.
The MCU specifically only has flashbacks to start off a movie. It's like, okay,
right.
We're starting the movie with a flashback to give you the information you're going to need for later.
Yeah.
And
right.
then, like, that's not a thing we do.
Yeah. I mean, there was a brief flashback
in
the previous film with Beck, so that we got a little bit of his backstory once we found out who he was.
Right.
But that's like the only...
Yeah.
That's really it. So.
Yeah, it would just seem to be really weird to give a flashback on a character that otherwise doesn't appear in the film. It seems like it's a little bit too inside for a film that people didn't really love that much. It was really critically panned. Both of those films were not exactly beloved. The second one certainly not. But anyway, all right. Well, I'm gonna do an unscripted thing here. This is not in the flow. We're looking. We're staring down the barrel. So if you're listening to this movie or this episode when it comes out, Spider-Man: Brand New Day is coming out this weekend. Andy, give me 1 or 2 things that you are very excited about when it comes to this new film, things that you're looking forward to see, or maybe a surprise.
I'm just, after rewatching this specifically, I'm getting really excited to see like where they're going to take Tom Holland's Spider-Man next. And like, I know there's like a lot of different things going on in that movie with like different bad guys, different good guys, the whole mutation storyline. So I'm just excited.
Right. Aboard for the ride.
Yeah.
Peter, what about you?
I'm curious to see where they're going to go. I'm really hoping that they resolve the I didn't tell my friends bit.
Yeah, me too.
I'm hoping that happens. It's possible that because of those consequences, we'll get a follow-up to the, oh no, I promised not to be a supervillain. Surprise, Hobgoblin. We might get that. I don't know. But
give me the Hobgoblin.
But I'm curious to see all the different characters that they're bringing in, like Punisher and who knows who else, to try to
Savage Hulk is going to be great
to make all of this a thing. So I'm curious to see what they do next. I'm not sure that I have any specific, other than the Friends thing, anything specific, because I don't know exactly what they're planning. So
right. And that's great. And I tell you, especially in this internet age, to have a film that you're going in feeling pretty blind because you don't have a trailer that's given you everything.
I'm totally fine with that. I don't want.
Yeah, Tom Holland has said several times in the last month or so, we haven't even showed you who the real villain is going to be. You know what I mean? For me, the biggest mystery to be resolved is who is Sadie Sink's character? Everybody wants to say it's Jean Grey. Everybody wants to say this is the beginning of the X-Men films and burr. I'm of a mind that I would love it to be
debunked.
Yeah.
I think they've come out and said that.
Yeah.
We're not telling you who she is, but she's not Jean Grey.
They also love to lie, I will say, and
Andy Garfield came out and lied for this film about
right.
Like, I'm not in it. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, you are. So who knows?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. We're seeing it on Thursday night. I had an opportunity to actually join fellow commentator Kurt Krug, who records for me all the time, at a press screening in Metro Detroit Monday, but I can't do it because the logistics of it is just too crazy. So I'll wait another 3 days, but we're seeing it Thursday night. I assume you guys will squeeze it into the weekend if you can. And we'll be recording. I can't tell you who the cast is going to be. It'll be a combination of either Andi Peter, myself, but definitely myself, possibly Scott Tipton, might bring in April, might bring in Kurt. It won't be everybody, though. It'll be just 3 of those people because everybody wants to talk about this movie. Everybody's psyched about this movie. It's number 1 in my bracket for the summertime because I think it's going to be another $1 billion movie. So fingers crossed. But yeah, with that, we wrap up our recapping of the summer of Spider-Man. Go out there and see Spider-Man Brand New Day. We're super psyched about it. Go frequent your local theaters. We're very lucky here in Grand Rapids that we've got a great theater chain called Celebration Cinemas, which is run by the Lokes family, which people from my own community that I went to high school with. So if you're in Grand Rapids, please go see it at Celebration Cinemas because they have one of the few true IMAX theaters in the country, and it will be played that way. So definitely go check that out. But that's the end of my absolutely free plug for them. Andy and Peter, guys, thanks for going on this journey with me. Andy, where do people find you out there in the world if they want to talk about Spider-Man?
I'm on Blue Sky at Andy94, and that's where you'll find me posting about Spider-Man stuff, Star Trek stuff, and my podcast, the World Stage Theater Podcast.
Excellent. And Peter, where do people find you out there?
You can find me on most social medias at Patrice Aquinas, but you'll have to poke at me if you want me to say anything about Spider-Man because I don't say a whole lot.
Yes.
So you can also find me on our Discords. You can find me over on ELH's Discord and Twitch where we do Star Trek Adventures and behind the scenes on Starship Excelsior.
Totally awesome. And I, of course, run the Secret Friends Unite social media. Tags were everywhere pretty much, but X and TikTok. And my own personal social media is at the C3, THECETHREE. We're just posting about silly stuff and sharing my little 3-minute kitchen chats, which I'm trying to get better at. But for all the things that happen in social media, I try to squeeze in at least 1 or 2 of those a week to just cover things that haven't otherwise been covered. But please find us. All of our content can be found at secretfriendsunite.com and at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite for all the great bonus content. But also give us your thoughts on the Spider-Man films we talked about and maybe your hopes for what you're going to see in Spider-Man Brand New Day on any of the socials. Please contact us that way. Our DMs are open. We'd love to hear from you. But also secretfriendsunite@gmail.com. Drop us a note and we will share that on our socials as well because we would love to hear from you. With that, friends, thank you as always for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring and to keep on trucking.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.